Hi, I'm Roger and welcome back to the Tractor Tech channel. This morning I was ready to work on the firewood at about 11 o'clock, then had a bunch of interruptions. It's 2:30 now, so I'm finally ready to start, but there's a possibility of rain at like 4 or 5 o'clock, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to get done here today. But ever since I got my rock bucket, I've been dying to try it on moving rounds, and today's going to be a good day to try that on because I need to get the splitter back there where the conveyor is, because that's where I want my pile of splits to be. But you can see the rounds are in the way, so I'm going to use the rock bucket to move the rounds, and then once I get the splitting, I'm going to use the rock bucket also to move the rounds to the splitter instead of carrying them or throwing the rounds to the splitter. So you may have noticed that the ram on the splitter is not returning. There are return springs. Right there's one. The last time I used it, it got to acting up, but I went ahead and finished the job like that. This one over here is gone. It probably came unhooked because with the table and the log lifter on this splitter, sometimes wood chips and bark builds up in here, and it may have got built up and then ripped the spring off. So the spring's probably laying back inside here, but as you can tell, it is raining right now, so I'm just trying to keep going. But I'm stopping and changing the way I'm doing things already. I'm going to take and clear a path wide enough to get the tractor up close to the splitter, and then I can just take the tractor and scoop up a bucket of rounds maybe and pick them up and throw them on the splitter and see how that works. Alright, so the drive belt on the conveyor was slipping. For some reason, this tensioner wants to slip off. So here's a pile of wood that I split Saturday. Been struggling to get out here and make this outro because I've been so busy and it gets dark so early. Then a couple days it was real windy, so you would not been able to hear me talking. But I logged exactly 2 hours on the wood splitter, and then I'm thinking I might have, I don't know, maybe a 1 3/4. I don't know if there'd be 2 cords there or not. It'd be nice if there was. But once I started the splitter ran the whole time. So that includes like staging the wood, because I'd start the tractor up, go get a bucket full of wood, and then split. Then once that was done, go get another bucket. The splitter ran that whole time. Now the splitter was shut off while I was working on the conveyor. My battery went dead when I was explaining what happened to the conveyor in the video, so I'll explain that again. But this tensioner keeps coming loose. I straighten it out and it ends up like this. I need to straighten it again, but I just put a band-aid on it real quick the other night. You'd think since this is a tensioner, it wouldn't be that important, because you think that these pieces here on the side would actually hold it once there was tension on the belt, you know, that would hold it, you should be able to take this off, but for some reason it must hold a good bit. I need to come up with something, I don't know, possibly another tensioner, or I don't know. I think this thing was probably originally designed for an electric motor, not a gas engine. So this gas engine has some vibration. So I don't know if that's going to factor into what's going on here or not. So in the comments of the last video, Jeff asked why I was only picking up 1 log with the grapple at a time. There were some times like that didn't make the video, and when my dad was running it also, that there were being 2 or 3 logs picked up, but for the most part, I was only picking up 1 log with the tractor. This pile's looking better now, but if you look at it, the logs are kind of intertwined. The pile's looking better now because I'm getting back into most of the green wood, but a lot of the dead wood was some smaller, more crooked stuff where the logs were intertwined and you couldn't pick up more than 1 at a time. But I think what I'm going to do from now on, if the stuff is small like this log and this log, I can pick the front log up, back up just a few feet, drop it down on the ground, then pick this log up, back up, and then pick up both logs at a time. Then I can drive over to where I'm cutting the wood, and that'll save a little bit on the driving time. Then Joe from the Steel to Wood YouTube channel asked what I was talking about when I mentioned splitting the sap off the wood. Here's an example with this picture of a piece of wood. It's not a real good example because it's already been mostly split off, and I just kept that piece because it wasn't good. But you can take the wood splitter and then split the part I have circled. You can split that off because that's all sappy or punky, and then throw it to the side, and then you end up with a decent piece of wood out of it. So this Titan rock bucket really worked well for handling the rounds. You can see in the video I used it 3 different ways. The first way was I scooped up the rounds and dumped them at the splitter. After I did that a few times, I got to thinking, why not just pull up beside the splitter and leave the loader raised? And that way I could have the rounds at like waist height to pick up and set on the splitter. That made things a lot easier and really seemed to speed things up. Then the third way I used it was some of the rounds that were close to the splitter, I picked them up and just stacked them on the bucket real quickly. So when I was splitting, it made it easier to get the rounds onto the splitter. So at the end of the night, when I got done splitting, I was not nearly as tired as what I normally would be. Since the rock bucket was getting the wood to the splitter, I just had to get the wood off of the rock bucket and onto the splitter. It made things a lot more easier. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this.